you are. Matt here with your devotional, encouraging you to do all that you do to the glory of God. Today we're asking the question, what is truth?
I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
This question was asked of Christ by Pontius Pilate in John chapter 18, verse 38. Jesus said, "You say that I am a king. For this purpose I was born, and for this purpose I have come into the world, to bear witness to the truth. Everyone who is of the truth listens to my voice." Pilate said to him, "What is truth?" After he had said this, he went back outside to the Jews and told them, "I find no guilt in him." Jesus didn't respond to Pilate's question. Instead, Pilate immediately acted as if he knew at least some truth. Concerning Jesus, he declared, "I find no fault in this man." By exonerating Jesus, Pilate was telling it like it is. Truth, then, can be described as that which corresponds to its object, or that which describes an actual state of affairs. Pilate's judgment was true because it matched its object. It described an actual state of affairs. Jesus really was innocent. This is what's referred to as the correspondence view of truth. Norman Geisler, in his systematic theology, says this: "Truth is found in correspondence. Truth is what corresponds to its object, or referent, whether this object is abstract or concrete. By contrast, falsehood is that which does not correspond to its referent or its object. Falsehood does not tell it like it is, but like it is not. It is a misrepresentation of the way things are." So let's look at some of the philosophical arguments for the correspondence view of truth. Again, coming from Geisler's systematic theology. First, non-correspondence views of truth are self-defeating. As we have seen, all non-correspondence views of truth imply a correspondence view of truth in the very attempt to deny the correspondence model. For example, the claim that the non-correspondence view of truth is true implies that non-correspondence corresponds to reality. Therefore, the non-correspondence view cannot even express itself without using the correspondence view of truth. Imagine someone makes a new app called Truth Detector. The creator says, "This app is awesome. It tells you the truth about everything." But then you ask, how do I know the app itself is telling the truth? The creator replies, "Because it tells you it's true." You'd immediately see the problem, right? For the app to tell you the truth, it has to already be connected to reality. It has to match up with what's actually real. If it's not connected to reality, it's just making noise. Even to say my app tells the truth assumes its correspondence with what's real. Second, even lies are impossible without a correspondence view of truth. If one's statements need not correspond to the facts in order to be true, then any factually incorrect statements could be true. And if this is the case, then lies become impossible because any statement is compatible with any given state of affairs. Third, without correspondence, there could be no such thing as truth or falsity. In order to know that something is true as opposed to knowing that something is false, there must be a real difference between things and the statements about the things. But this real difference between thought and things is precisely what is entailed in a correspondence view of truth. Fourth, factual communication would break down without a correspondence view of truth. Factual communication depends on informative statements, but informative statements must be factually true. That is, they must correspond to the facts in order to inform one correctly. Further, all communication seems to depend ultimately on something being literally or factually true. For we cannot know something like a metaphor is not literally true unless we understand what is literal. This being the case, it follows that all communication depends in the final analysis on a correspondence view of truth. Fifth, even the intentionalist theory depends on the correspondence view of truth. The intentionalist theory claims something is true only if the accomplishments correspond to the intentions. Consequently, within the intentionalist system, without correspondence of intentions and accomplished facts, there is no truth. Imagine a basketball team whose coach says, "We only count it as a win if what we intended to do actually happens on the court." That's fair enough. They intend to score points, and if they do, that's success. But now imagine someone on the team says, "We don't need the scoreboard. Winning just means we intended to win." You'd probably laugh. Why? Because without the scoreboard, without a way to measure whether their intentions actually correspond to reality, they'd never know if they truly won. Their intentions might be sincere, but truth, in this case winning, still depends on whether what they intended actually happened. The Christian worldview hinges on this correspondence view of truth. Truth is discovered, not invented. It exists independent of anyone's knowledge of it. In other words, it's objective. Everything around us, the stars, the mountains, even our thoughts, exists because God created it. That means reality isn't random. It's designed and ordered by God. What's real is what God has made and what God says is true. So when we talk about truth corresponding to reality, we're not just talking about facts floating in space. We're talking about reality as God has created and sustains it. Because God made us in His image, He gave us the ability to know truth, to reason, to learn, and to recognize reality. But we don't have to figure it all out on our own. God revealed truth to us in creation, and especially in Scripture. In John chapter 17, verse 17, it says, "Sanctify them by the truth. Your word is truth." So Scripture doesn't just contain truth. It defines truth because it comes from the God who created all things. And all truth points back to the person of Jesus Christ, who said in John chapter 14, "I am the way, the truth, and the life." Jesus is the perfect example of truth corresponding to reality. His words and actions fully match who He is and what God has revealed. In Him, we see that truth is not just an idea, but a person who reveals God's reality to us. So in short, the only theory of truth that is not self-defeating is the correspondence view of truth. We can know truth because God created and sustains a world that's governed by laws that we can understand. And ultimately, all truth points us back to the Creator and to the person and work of Jesus Christ. Well, Lord willing, I'll see you on Sunday. God bless.